In the year 2007, the Department of Education in US, along with leading organizations and educational experts, evolved a concept called as 4C. This concept, which is relevant for 21st century education and which is also being adopted by most of the nations across the world. The 4C, the number 1C stands for communication. And the second C stands for collaboration. And the third C stands for critical thinking. And the last C stands for creativity. Thanks to great visionary TED founder Richard Salomon and Harry Marx, and the whole team who conceptualized this idea way before in 1984 by bringing TED platforms. Good afternoon, TEDxAmboli and the whole team. Today, I'll speak on a particular topic, that is education for an unpredictable future and navigating the unknown times ahead. Imagine being just 6 months old and being thrown into swimming pool to learn swimming. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? And yeah, that was my childhood, growing up in a family who owned educational institutions since my grandma started it. But I was never sent to school until I was 12 years old. Now, I'm in 12th grade and I still don't go to college. Today, I stand before you all as in living evidence for educating for an unpredictable future and the future which is unseen. Experiencing real world from pool to school, I realized two things. One is my education was customized for my dreams and my needs. And second is my education evolved for the changes constantly, which is adaptability, which reminds me of what Charles Darwin stated, the father of evolution. The survival of fittest is not for the one strongest among the species, nor for the one who is the most intelligent, but for the one who is most adaptable to the change. See, if a student certainly joins kindergarten in 2023, is likely to graduate from his whole education in the year 2040. 2040, a world filled with endless possibilities and challenges. We should not just prepare our youths for a future that the jobs and works will no longer exist there, but a future of work and job where we are unable to think and predict. We cannot just think what a world would look like 5 years down the line. Imagine a world where our youth are going to live in it. According to a recent UNESCO study, it shows that around 90 million of the job and professions will be replaced with automation like AI, artificial intelligence, robotics, and 3D printing by the end of 2034. It's a staggering statistics, I know, but it also means us and tells us that we have to shift our focus from rote memorization to fostering skill-based learning where machines cannot replicate. So, the question is, why do we need to change and what is wrong with the present education? See, the policymakers at the government level or the teachers or educators at the student level, they themselves are not in a phase to adapt for the change. Renaissance took place because of great creative thinkers and workers, which resulted in industrialization or an industrial revolution. For that industrial era, we wanted an education module which would produce endless pools of constant, compliant factory workers who could fit seamlessly into their jobs. They basically wanted mass people to do same work in an old parrot-fashioned rote work method. But the thing is, it served its purpose and it gave a huge result. It was designed for industrial era, which we still follow in informative era. It has outserved its purpose so much that earlier it was education which was infused in industrialization. But now, the bad thing is education is been infused with industrialization, where we are mindlessly producing pool of mechanically working literate fools. The thing is, our education system is still stuck in industrial era, clinging on to its outdated practices and structures that no longer serve today's youth. Around 80% of the engineering graduates are unemployable. So they either choose fields which are non-engineering fields or they remain unemployed. The question is, where are we heading? Was this the purpose of education which was demonstrated? And that's why we need to change, and we need to change right now. The thing is, there are hundreds of initiatives taken by government every year to reform education. But the trouble is, it's all going in a wrong direction. It is sometimes entangled with the political state of government. For example, the new education policy in India, 2020, has already come to halt in state Karnataka as the earlier opposition party has come to its power. At the time when Al-Qaeda hit the Twin Tower, President George Bush was in a school in Florida reviving no child left behind policy. This policy means, and I want you guys to listen it very carefully, it means that every child's education is critical for the betterment of society and the nation. The human growth rate will multiply like anything. The per capita income, the GDP, and the happiness index, sustainable development will all follow through only when each child's dream and aspirations are addressed individually. And the question is, can we customize it to that level? See, there is one principle that human life flourishes on, that is diversity. Every child is different and unique. For an example, how many of you here have children? And how many of you have children more than two? More than one or two? Okay, very few. And the rest of you all have seen children, the small people walking around, right? And I bet, especially for those who have more than one children, and I am pretty sure I'll win this bet, that both of the child are different, aren't they? Aren't they? Yes. And both of the child being brought up and grown together with same parenting practices and structures, but both of the child are different. That means that human life is basically diverse. Each one of them has their own individual interests and their dreams. But the question is now, are we in a state of position where we can customize education to a very personalized level? And the answer is yes, and it is being done already. So, the average global dropout rate is around 5%. In some countries, it reaches about 30 to 50%. But what we see, the dropout rate is just tip of an iceberg. What we don't see is a lot of students who are disengaged in the process of education, which together adds up to a huge number. So every student who drop out of education has their own reasons, which are rooted with their own biography. One is they might find it boring for the life they are living outside, or they might find it irrelevant. So to bridge this dropout crisis, the organization came up with something called as alternative education. Alternative education, which had some common as well as individualized features. They had strong link of teacher support. They had a very broad and diverse education curriculum. They had classes outside the classrooms. And the thing is, they work. They work. What interesting to me is they are called as alternative education. If this became the regular norm of educating every child across the spectrum, the effective learning outcome of each and every child would have a significant improvement quantitatively and qualitatively. See, there are few things we have to adopt in our system. One is, why is a child forced to take combos which is already prepared? Why is a child should take PCMB if a child is interested to take humanities instead of mathematics? Why is he not allowed to do that? Second thing, why is a child being forced to sit in four walls of a classroom for an entire year? The whole system of, and process of a school should be like an effective learning space for a child. And the third thing is, education is not chalk and talk way of learning. It is not dumping information to a child's brain. It should have, the classroom learning processes should have a collaborative way of learning. And the fourth one is, every child in the process of learning education inside the classroom should have an experiential learning which is happening in the real world. They shouldn't be restricted to those textbooks. And there are a few other things that real education gives emphasis to all the subjects equally. See, real education doesn't just obsess over STEM discipline. Every subjects are important, like humanities, arts, music, physical education. They are important not because they improve the math score of a student. They are important because they touch the part of a student which is otherwise untouched. And standardization and examination, competition basically. See, standardized testing have a place, but they shouldn't become the dominant culture of education. They should be diagnostic. They shouldn't make what people wakes up in the morning. These are few things we have to adopt in our system. With this kind of present and advancing future, we can customize education to every child's needs and aspiration. We can make it tailor-made. We need to evolve an education system where learners actualize their dreams and they have to step to the future with right mindset and self-confidence. See, the purpose of education in the end is not just restricted to jobs and livelihood. They are the byproducts of education. And true education should make a child reach global values, universal understanding, and service to humanity. We have to evolve our education where the process of educating, process of learning should be a progress itself in inner awakening of a child. So everybody, let's put our hands together to evolve an education system for the unpredictable future. Let there be victory for the whole world. Jai Jagat. Thank you, one and all.